So let's start to do the same thing. We'll use some box modeling, and if we look at the torso of our character, it's going to be pretty much cylindrical shaped as well. You could start with a box if you wanted to, or a cube also, but I'm going to go ahead and start with a cylinder. So let's go ahead and bring in, again, a polygon this time. We'll start with another cylinder. Let's go ahead and bring it up into position here and start to change some of these creation settings. So go into the input. Let's increase the radius. Let's increase the height, and we can move it up into position. And we want to have a few subdivisions along the height. So we can always add more, but maybe 5 or 6 will give us the ability to kind of tweak the shape of this. Okay, and we'll just kind of get at a rough radius here. Right now it's set to 20. Let's go ahead and set that to maybe 16. I think that'll probably work okay for us. When you're doing something that is round like this, you want to try to get it maybe as close as you can when you create it, as far as the radius, as far as the subdivisions on the axis goes. Just because of what we talked about in the last lesson, when you add resolution, creating those dents and things. So go ahead and get it sort of blocked in here. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is to go ahead and just add a rough shape to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete our history. And again, just kind of the same way that we did the arm, I'm going to do this on a loop-by-loop basis. So I'm just going to drag across here to select that entire loop. And I'm just going to do it kind of from the side first and then from the front. So we can go ahead and bring this down. And this, I want to kind of move up to where the base of that collar would be. And I'm just moving it in the 2 axes here and also scaling uniformly. So just scaling on the center line there. We'll kind of rotate it a little bit. And I just want to move it to kind of match up the shape that we see here from the side view. So the shape of the chest and the back. Same thing here. And kind of move this forward a little bit. Same thing. And do the same thing here. Now we'll start to taper down a little bit. And same thing here. I'm going to taper that down a little bit and move it up. We can come in from the back side now and just start to bring this in a little bit. Create this kind of a back shape. Okay, kind of bring that up. Let's go ahead and go to the front view and start to refine this a little bit more as well. So from the front view, it needs to be a bit wider. So we can come in here and start to widen this out. Now scaling in 1 axis. Start to bring this out. And we're thinking about the shirt, not the body underneath. So, we can see the neck, so we need to make that, but we can't see the chest. All we see is the shirt. So we don't have to build the underlying structure, things that we're not going to see. We can build the shirt over it. If you're doing things like muscles and stretching and things like that, sometimes you have to build the interior structure. But in our case, we're just going to build the outer shell. All right, so we end up with a shape that looks something like that, kind of like a mannequin's torso. All right, we can go ahead and if we want to delete the faces on top and bottom, we can. And at this point, we'll introduce you to something that's going to be really powerful for us to use, and that is symmetry. So when we're working with characters, typically they're going to be basically symmetrical. So they're going to have, an arm on one side, a similar arm on the other side. Now, in the details and some of the proportion and things, to add realism, it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it makes sense for us to build it symmetrically to begin with, and then we can add those things in later. So to do that, we can just select all of the polygons on this side of the axis. Okay, since our arm's over here, I'll go ahead and delete those, and I'll do the same thing on the back. So I'm just clicking, double-clicking. Okay, so it's shift, double-click, and then when we get it separated, we can just double-click on it, and now we've just got half of a torso, basically. All right. So now what we want to do is create the sort of shirt sleeve here. We already have an arm, and we know the shirt sleeve is going to be pretty much conformed to where this arm is. So what we can do is actually select the polygons on the arm. So let's say we want these polygons here to be where the sleeve is going to be. Now we don't want to destroy the arm, so instead of extracting, which would actually remove those polygons from the arm, what we want to do is we want to duplicate the faces. So go Edit Mesh, Duplicate Face. We want to separate those. So go ahead and duplicate the faces, and then if we want to pull them out from the surface, we can drag on this Z axis here to pull that out. And so now what we've got is we've got our arm, and it's still intact, but now we've got these faces that we've duplicated off the arm, and we can use those as the basis for our shirt. Alright, now this has 9 lines in it, and we only want 8. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of remove what we did for the arm by just merging those points together on the sleeve, because it'll connect a little bit easier with the actual shirt itself. So I'll come in and just merge those together. Okay, now we want to combine both of these, so we'll select them both and say combine. We can delete our history. So now we've got the arm, which is again separate, and now we've got this piece, which is the geometry that we've extracted from the arm or duplicated off of the arm, just to give us a good starting point. And we've got the geometry here. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another edge loop, kind of right in here, and then we can start to connect this up. So we've got 8, a resolution of 8 lines coming around the arm. So we need, now when we connect up a piece like this with a piece like this, you need to think about the area where it's going to be actually connected. So we want it to have the same resolution. So in order to do that, we want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you know if you have something like this arm that is 8 lines around, then you know it's going to be connecting up to basically 4 quads. So the area here would be defined by this one, this one, this one, and this one. If you count, you see 2 on this side, 2 on this side, so 4 and 4 is 8. So then we could go ahead, delete that. Now we can start to make this match up a little bit more with the arm geometry that we have here. Maybe kind of bring this up a little bit more. And then we can double click on those edges, and let's select bridge, maybe 1 division here. And we can do a linear path. So that connects up our body with our arm. Now we are going to have to do some actual modeling here, so let's go ahead and start to bring up the geometry here for instance the neck and the shoulder. Start to smooth that out. You can see we have a sharp line here, and we don't want that, so we'll go ahead and start to smooth this out. Remember, this is a shirt, not the skin, so we're just thinking about a general shape, not necessarily building in musculature and things like that. So we can go ahead and kind of smooth this out a little bit. Let's kind of bring this geometry forward a little. Okay, let's go ahead and take this geometry here and kind of pull it out and down a little bit. Okay. And now we've got our shirt connected up with our shirt sleeve, rather, connected up with our shirt. So we can go ahead and I'm going to add another edge loop in here. Might need to add a little bit more as we go here on the shoulder so that it can bend properly. Alright, so now that we've got our arm connected up, or rather our shirt sleeve connected up with our the rest of our shirt, let's go ahead in the next lesson and take a look at creating the collar for the shirt. So we'll go ahead and do that next.